Hey everyone, I'm Dave, welcome to Tag, and today I want to talk to you about Zenwiki, or as we know them, ZWQ. Back in 2021, they made a bold move by coming to the market with a kit blaster that was to be hobby grade, high power, and hobby oriented. Everything was not perfect with this S100 War Saint. This blaster, well, not exactly this blaster, because the original one was made of clear ABS, like this material, and the shell have a tendency to crack pretty much everywhere in the important section of the blaster, therefore not that well received. But this was an ambitious move. It was a sniper, pump action, or bolt prime, because you can put a bolt prime through it, that was working with its own magazine, and for a main reason. I mean, ZhenWeiQi was aiming at the market where worker was. Yes, it was maybe not the best iteration of a blaster they could have released, and the community gave them feedback which they listened. First, they changed the material, they updated the blaster here and there. Still, they were sticking to their magazine geometry. No change was made in that place, but that was the main flaw for most people in the hobby. Since we were used to buy worker blaster, worker magazine, which are Talon, we are, or most of the community is expecting every blaster to work with them. But as Zenwiki was coming to the market to be like a competitor to worker, they did not want to use the same geometry, and this is pretty much understandable. After a lot of update, they ended up with the War Saint 2.0, which is a corrected version of their original War Saint. It even come all assembled now in a box, and that shows how they can improve one of their blaster. But soon after that, they came with a second very interesting blaster. They then brought to the market their first pistol primary blaster, the S200 Fire Rat. And I've got to say, this thing, I know originally a lot of people were complaining because this was just a Gecko clone, but I'm sorry, there is a lot of work and a lot of redesign or just design into this blaster, plus the quality of material on this thing. I mean, this was the first polycarbonate shell. If you had a color one, it was a sturdy nylon shell, showing that ZhenWeiQi already learned of the problem. Same went for their magazine, because the original magazine with this blaster was far from perfect. They were basically splitting apart, forcing ZhenWeiQi to rethink their magazine very quickly for the blaster, and they did. They made a very good injection molded magazine with a metal counterweight at the base, which feel very nice and give you a nice feeling for this blaster. But more of that. Pretty much back then, every pistol blaster, primary pistol blaster, came with the Talon, Angle Talon geometry magazine. Having this magazine that they made this grip one of the most comfortable grip all blaster compare in the market right now. I mean, with the rubberized grip over it, even more comfortable. Plus, this blaster, they really wanted it to be a hobby grade one, meaning they made in-house, first-hand, first-party, a series of metal upgrade for this blaster. The only two metal upgrade missing on this blaster are the rear priming block and the front muzzle. For the rest, all my internal have been updated down to the trigger and the mag release, even that little ring around it. I mean, this was the first true hobby grade pistol blaster, and ZhenWeiQi showed us very quick what they were able to do with this blaster. But they did not just stop there. They updated this blaster to be even better while it was already on the market. And they even provided me a prototype to show you back then, which was the S200 Viper. This Viper, okay, this one is black. Originally it was red with a red slide, but this is like a Frankenstein of my prototype Viper and my black and clear Viper that I mashed up together. When they released this blaster, they basically redesigned their own magazine to be even better. I mean, they changed the angle of the grip just a bit more so it's more comfortable. Everything is more easy to tear down and reassemble. The problem was with the S200 fire wrap. You had to fish every little spring inside and place every part from the rear into the blaster or from the front, because everything was a closed shell, a one-piece shell, and it was a little tedious to fiddle inside to maintain it or just to mod it. This blaster was the complete opposite. You had to remove like 3 pins and a screw. You split the blaster in half, you can play with the internal, change your barrel, because originally it was not threaded, but now Zenwiki is working with threaded barrel on most of their blaster. So I really hope they keep doing that. You can see the thread here for this blaster. If you buy a Viper nowadays, you're gonna have a threaded dart gate, and that threaded dart gate was a one more step towards being the great hobby grade blaster company they wanted to be. And exactly like the fire wrap, they made a full array of first party modification part, CNC part for it. You could basically take your blaster, which was between 130 and 160 FPS depending on the spring you put in originally from the shelf, and turn it into a one finger prime, mostly CNC beast that shoot about 180 or 190 FPS with one finger pull. This thing slaps. It's super precise. Okay, this model, like I said, it's basically all CNC apart from the lower receiver and the mag release. They even re-updated their magazine to be even more reliable, because some of their magazine on the Viper, when it released, because the angle is so pronounced on the grip, they have a tendency to stick. When learning their magazine were sticking, they adjusted and redesigned the pusher on this magazine. Those magazines are downright the most reliable I found for pistol grip. With this blaster, ZhenWeiQi made a statement saying we are the company we say we are, and the quality is spot on. This is impeccable. They did the best pistol blaster out there. I mean, honestly, you got a lot more blaster into this CNC Viper than you have into my Swin Alien, and I love my Swin Alien. ZhenWeiQi really nailed it with this one. But time passed and they were due for a bigger blaster, because when the Viper was out on the market, they already were working or were starting to sell their CNC Valkyrie. Unfortunately, I was never able to grab a ZWQ CNC Valkyrie, but this thing was just gorgeous. It's one of my unicorn that I never had a chance to put my hands on. I only saw one in real life one time, and basically the guy had it in his hand and refused to let me handle it for like a second. So yeah, that's about my experience with this Valkyrie, but judging on what I see from the quality of ZhenWeiQi, it should have been a crazy blaster. To keep the momentum they had with the Viper and all the hype behind their CNC part and CNC blaster, mostly in Asia, but here too, because there is always maniac like me that are gonna follow what they are doing. And they were coming with the S100S Baze blaster, which is basically a revamp of their Warsaint, and you pretty much know how it went. I mean, they sent me, let's say, both model, because the original Baze blaster, the S100S Baze blaster, was not exactly on par with what I was expecting. You all saw my unboxing and assembly, and then my review of my orange version of the Baze blaster. I mean, this was almost an inferior redo of the Warsaint, basically. It was not really on par with what we were to expect from ZhenWeiQi, seeing all the progress they made, how they treated their pistol blaster, and having this original Baze blaster was basically impossible to mod unless you completely tear it down to go play inside, and that was kind of a problem for me. Most of the hobby grade blaster, you can quick change a barrel, quick change a spring. There was a couple things here and there on the blaster that didn't felt right for where Zenwiki was at that time and the price they were asking for. But Zenwiki, being who they were, they listened to what we had to say. Other reviewer and myself, they basically, if you check what they corrected on the Baze blaster, for this Baze blaster exactly, they basically took every point I mentioned in my orange Baze video review and assembly and corrected it into this blaster. We have a rear spring access, we have a threaded dart gate, and to mention, they never had dart gate before that. Normally, those big Zenwiki blaster have only one barrel that is held down into the shell. This was a great improvement. A lot of players still complaining about their magazine. But they did improve their magazine with this thing. Unfortunately, this magazine is not really compatible with the War Saint. That was kind of a problem, and at the time it was still a problem with Zenwiki. But this magazine was improved. I mean, the geometry, everything inside was better, it was smoother, and you could remove the bottom to maintain it. Everything was better with this magazine. And you saw the evolution, because by the time this new Baze blaster came to the market, this new 100S Baze came to the market, they went from multiple part kit, like every single little part not attached in the blaster, because you saw most of my Zenwiki blaster I had to assemble apart from the pistol, and even the pistol, if you go with the CNC kit, every single little part is separate. And now those blasters appear on the market in a box, in a retail box, fully assembled. You don't have to do anything to them. They work right out. Like the 2.0 War Saint that I showed you, it came in a box, all assembled, didn't have to do anything to it compared to my original War Saint, my original Baze, my Baze 2.0/2.5 since it got all the metal internal. I mean, Zenwiki really progressed, and the quality on their CNC machining is spotless. Okay, enough talking about what they did. Now let's talk about what they're doing and where is it gonna place them in 2026 on the hobby market. Because this next move is bold, and it showed that they are listening after all. I'm not gonna go back on the story of the S300 that we never had, the caliber that was stolen from Zenwiki. That's pretty much all I'm gonna say about it. If you wanna see or hear anything about this story, go check my review of the lost S300, the PDW Razor, which is basically design stolen from Zenwiki. And that's about it for this blaster. And because of it, I was worried that Zenwiki would slowly disappear, because they went kind of silent for a long time without really new stuff coming besides some B-car and some slide accessories. It was worrying me. Even the CNC part for both Fire Rat and Viper are becoming rarer and rarer. But they are coming back strong, listening to the community. They are coming back with the S400 Zebra. Yeah, this thing. This is the blaster that a lot of people are talking right now, because yes, it's a bull pump. Yes, it obviously a Lynx. Yes, built and redesigned by Zenwiki, which is very promising. Imagine they do the same kind of trick they did from the Gecko to the Viper to this Lynx. The feeling of this thing will be amazing. I am very hyped for it. But there is one more thing that interests me in that blaster. That blaster comes with a standard Zenwiki geometry magazine, but it's an updated version of that magazine that supposedly fit the S100S Baze and probably the War Saint. It's their new universal magazine, I guess. It's their geometry, and I think they finally nailed it. So now, at last, we're gonna have a magazine from ZhenWeiQi usable in more than one ZhenWeiQi magazine. That is already a good news, but there is more to that. Bringing this blaster to the market, a lot of people always complain, yeah, but it doesn't take Talon, so we don't want it. And a comment I hear often is if a company wants a blaster to lift, they need to have it compatible with Talon. It's true for an entry level. Hobby grade, I'm not that sure, but they made sure you were satisfied because they are offering with that Zebra a Talon mag well that you can just screw onto the blaster and your blaster will now accept Talon magazine. But there is more to that. Not only did they release a Talon magwell for their new blaster, they are releasing, and they are available right now, Talon magazine. 10 round Talon, 18 round Talon. Meaning now they have their own magazine. They are producing Talon magazine that use drum spring for the lifting. It should be better for the dart, less squishy, equal force all the way. I'm really eager to try those new magazines, but Talon magazine built that way, I might replace all my Talon for ZenWiki Talon if they work nice. And having that Zebra working with Baze magazine, I might keep my Zebra with ZenWiki standard magazine just to stack myself a few of them and use my base a bit more because I'm limited in magazine and having more available is really appealing to me. ZenWiki listened to us and brought us a blaster that everybody will be able to aspire to use because you won't have to necessarily build up your loadout again, and you're gonna have A-links, that is injection molded and metal, built by ZhenWeiQi. I am pretty sure this is going to be an outstanding blaster. I mean, come on. So far, the blaster is rated with a 1.2 spring to 65 FPS. I understand this is not impressive, but with a 2.02 millimeter spring wire, it is rated to over 320 FPS. So yeah, it is going to be a potent sniper blaster. Very compact. It measures what, 54 centimeter. So yeah, it's a very compact blaster that we're gonna be able to acquire outstanding range out of. And with the new ZenWiki B-Car, it's gonna be something, one of the most accurate blaster out there. I am really eager for this blaster. I am currently waiting for my review sample to come. As soon as it's here, you're gonna see it. I am gonna tell you everything about it. We are gonna go through it far and wide. You know me, ZenWiki Blaster always have the red carpet treatment here because they rarely disappoint. Only when mishaps happen, but normally ZhenWeiQi correct very, very fast. Well, that's about it for this video. In the meantime, you can always follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Please leave a like and comment. Yeah, leave me your experience on ZenWiki Blaster. What you like, what you don't like. Did you even know they existed? Or this is something new to you? Leave me a comment down below. Subscribe for more content. This was Dave Fatag. Thank you for watching. See you next time.